Next up, we got what a 15-year-old mass killer looks like. Now, it's an hour and 57 minutes long. So, like I said in other videos, if y'all want a part 2, like this video and comment. We need a part 2. Okay? If y'all want a second part, alright? Because I'm not ready to this whole thing. I already know I'm not. 2 hours long? Yeah. But hey, I already know like interrogation videos in so long. I ain't gonna lie. You feel me? So it's gonna be something different. So hey, enough talking. Let's see what it be time.
The following footage revealing a 15-year-old mass killer has never been seen before.
We discovered his dad on the couch. His face was really pale.
You were a stone cold killer. 4 people have been murdered tonight.
They're dead.
You cannot lie to me. I will drag you down with this.
What happened?
You will go to jail for the rest of your life. I'm looking in the eyes of a stone cold killer. There's no remorse.
When Nick Browning and 3 of his friends arrived at his home, they immediately knew something was very wrong. At first glance, the house appeared to have been burglarized, but when they discovered Nick's entire family murdered, no one could have ever expected the chilling and twisted truth behind their deaths. The 4 15-year-olds were Ryan Fingles, Taylor Tewksbury, Alexander Smith, and Nicholas Nick Browning. The boys spent time at the mall on the Saturday afternoon of February 2, 2008, before they were dropped off at Nick's house in an affluent Baltimore suburb of Cockeysville, Maryland. Immediately, the boys noticed that a door to the Brownings' house had been left unlocked, and it looked as though there may have been a robbery. When they entered the home, the boys found Nick's father, John Browning, a well-respected attorney, shot to death where he had been asleep on the sofa. They soon discovered that Nick's mother, Tamara, and his 2 younger brothers, 13-year-old Gregory and 11-year-old Benjamin, had all been shot as they were sleeping in their bedrooms. After the police were called, the 4 traumatized boys were brought into the police station to give their statements about the haunting discovery. They were separated into different interrogation rooms while they...
And the funny part about this is that usually when you see these people be mass killers and they kill a lot of people, shoot schools up, they always be... It don't never be for a good reason. Which is not a good reason to do it anyways. And I'm just putting it out there. It's not a good reason to even kill somebody anyways. Unless they're trying to kill you. But the reasoning why they say they did it or whatever, it just be so stupid. It'd be so dumb. It'd be so dumb. So dumb. It'd be something like, oh, he put me on punishment because I was out with my friends all night and I wanted to stay out late. And he put me on punishment so I killed everybody in the family. You know what I'm saying?
They
like,
wait for a detective
like
to come
that,
and
bro.
question them. Nick's 3 friends are important witnesses as they were there when the Browning family was found dead, and were also with Nick for most of the evening and the majority of the following day. The following never-before-seen footage has been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed attorney and former criminal prosecutor, a licensed clinical psychologist, and an individual with a Master of Science in Clinical Psychology.
Dude, my name's Dave.
Dave.
What's your name, Ryan?
The interrogator enters the room and introduces himself to Ryan Fingles as Dave instead of officer or detective. This is done to put Ryan at ease and make the detective seem less intimidating or authoritative.
Yes. All right. Good.
Thanks for coming down here with us. It's kind of been a long day. I'll just need some basic information from you. It's Ryan, right?
Yes.
What's your middle name, Ryan?
Middle name? Yes. Andrew.
What's your last name?
Fingles. Fingles.
The detective is gathering basic background information from Ryan and is getting him comfortable talking. Ryan is in 10th grade, which makes him a minor, so the detective will have to be careful to make sure he understands his rights. Another detective uses a similar approach when he enters the room of 15-year-old Taylor Tewksbury. In comparison, Taylor seems very nervous, which is to be expected when being interrogated.
I'm a homicide detective. Some bad stuff has happened tonight. I need you to be 100% honest with me.
Right.
I want you to tell me what's been going on and explain. Who are you with all day?
I was with Ryan, Alex, and Nick. We were at Ryan's house in the morning because we slept over there last night.
What time? What time did you guys get over there last night?
I went over there right after school.
You got there after school about what time?
Well, I went home first, and then my mom drove me over there around like 2:50 maybe.
2:15 or
2:50.
2:50.
Yeah.
He's giving a lot of details about the evening and comes across as truthful. Taylor is also facing the detective, suggesting that he is engaged in the interview.
Okay, what'd you guys do there last night?
Mostly, we were playing cross out front, and then we played video games, basically. Watched a movie.
What movie you watch?
We were watching, what's it called?
See, I ain't no detective or anything, but that nigga lying. I'm not even gonna lie. You can tell somebody lying, bro, if they doing too much with their hands, they can't remember nothing, you know what I'm saying? Because usually when people lie, it be kind of like a script in the back of their head of like what they gonna say. So like when somebody hit them with a question that they wasn't even thinking about answering, so it's not in their script, they be literally, they don't know what to say. Just like these, what movies you watch? They probably haven't been watching movies last night. You know what I'm saying? They say, what movie you watch? You try to think of any movie, which is not even hard, bro. Just think of a movie. Say Spider-Man. Like, what the? Just think of a movie if you lying.
Yeah.
He's giving a lot of details about the evening.
My bad.
Mostly.
Bro, just say anything.
I remember we're watching Robin Big at first, and then we were looking through the movies. Oh, Accepted. We're watching Accepted. We started that around like 10:15 or something.
Okay, around 10:15 last night?
Yeah. I don't know. I fell asleep like halfway through it,
So,
and then
where were you guys in? In part of the house? Where were you guys in?
in like the living room, the main room, family room, I guess you want to call it.
Where's your parents at?
Yes.
The detective begins the interview with Alexander Smith by being very upfront and lets him know he isn't in trouble.
What's your last name?
Smith.
Oh, that's right. I just talked to Dad. Your dad's here. When you guys leave, I think he's going to take care of the other boys, get them to where they got to go. Okay. Any other nickname other than Alex?
No.
Street name or anything like that?
No.
You play lacrosse for Delaney?
You talking about
Yes.
street
Again, he
name?
gets basic information from him and builds some rapport with Alex by asking about things that are non-threatening. Meanwhile, Nick Browning eventually puts his head down and appears to fall asleep.
Hey, Nick.
What?
I'm sorry it takes so long.
The detective enters and immediately apologizes to Nick for the long wait. He does this to come across as friendly and to start building rapport. He also wants to let Nick know they are actively investigating and speaking to other people, so he might be less inclined to lie.
No offense to you. Everybody that comes in here, I got to read their rights too, so I got to read your rights.
The detective is trying to put Nick at ease by saying that he has to read the Miranda rights to everyone. By making this seem like a very ordinary thing, he's less likely to start off being defensive. The detective reads Nick his Miranda rights and has him read them back to him to make sure he is literate and is listening. Because Nick has no priors and is a minor, the detective needs to take extra care in making sure he understands his rights before he begins interrogating him.
Can we talk a little bit? Can you sign that here for me?
Signature.
I'll get over it, trust me.
The detective intentionally speaks very casually and then immediately jumps into the interrogation. He does this so Nick doesn't have an opportunity to hesitate and request an attorney. The detective also makes the conversation seem casual, so he isn't aware of the seriousness of speaking to the police without legal representation. Notice how close the detective sits to Nick versus how he was seated with the other boys. He's intentionally invading his personal space to make him focus on him. It's more difficult to lie to someone who's inches from your face, looking.
Dang, that's what I told y'all, bro. I keep saying it in all the JCS videos. Where's JCS at, bro? JCS don't post no more. But look, though. This is why I was saying, bro. The police literally know all these tactics and everything about just social. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, social worker, social everything. You feel me? Like, it's so funny, bro. It's so funny. So just like what they said, like he was sitting back versus in your face, making more focus on you. It's hard to lie to somebody in your face, because really think about it. If somebody's staring you directly in your eyes, did you kill that motherfucker? Did you kill him? It's hard to lie. Not gonna lie. You see the fucking sweat trickling down their forehead.
Directly at you.
Doctor, so tell me what's happened the last day and a half. What was going on and last night? I guess you can start tomorrow. Yesterday afternoon.
Came up from school, 2:45, then thought about going to the basketball game, but then ended up...
At Delaney or?
Delaney basketball game. Thought about going there.
Okay.
Then we decided to skip that for a bunch of reasons. Then we went to Ryan Fingal's house.
Okay.
Then we were just hanging out there. We went outside for a little bit, you know.
What were you doing at Ryan's house?
Yeah, Ryan.
What were you doing there?
The police officer begins a very basic line of questioning, allowing him to describe the events of the past 2 days on his own. Getting Nick to tell his own version of what happened will help the police attempt to poke holes in his story.
Played some Xbox a little bit.
Okay. I don't know. I know the address. Where does Ryan live?
Do you know Springdale?
Yeah, I know where the pool and stuff is.
Right, it's in that neighborhood.
Okay.
While one detective is handling Nick's questioning, another is simultaneously questioning Ryan. We pick up where they're discussing the boys' activities the previous night, when they all stayed over at Ryan's house, and start to discuss where exactly Nick was during that night.
You guys spent the entire evening together yesterday?
Yes.
You actually leave the house at all last night?
Just walk around the neighborhood.
Okay. How far do you live from where he lives?
Half a mile.
Half a mile. Did you guys go over there?
No.
Did he?
Yes.
What time did he go over there?
Like 12:30.
Last night?
Yes.
What did he go home for?
Truthfully, we were going to just take his car out.
I'm sorry, what was his name?
Nick Browning. Just take his car out for a little drive.
Okay. Did you guys do that?
No.
All of you were there?
Yes. Nick said that he was there. He's that when he got there, the lights were still on.
Okay.
And so he just was in the car, and he said he fell asleep.
It seems Nick planned to sneak home to get the car before driving back to take the boys for a ride, but this never happened. Although it isn't known for sure, it can be assumed that Nick would have to sneak home to get the car due to his age. At only 15 years old, he would be unable to get his driver's license. Nick's story that he fell asleep in the car doesn't sound very feasible. If he went home to get his car, which he wasn't allowed to do, adrenaline would have likely kept him up. It's also suspicious that the lights in the house allegedly were on that late at night. If there had been an intruder, they likely wouldn't have turned lights on. As well, Nick probably would have seen or heard something if his family was killed around the same time he was sitting in the driveway. His story isn't logical.
And like 3 hours later, or how many hours later, Alex called him and see where he was. He's like, oh, I fell asleep in the car, and then he came back to my house.
After Ryan explains that Nick temporarily left the sleepover for a few hours, we return to Taylor's interrogation room. The detective is getting Taylor's account of the previous night's events.
So basically after that, when I woke up, started watching this TV.
So you fell asleep?
Yeah, I woke back up around 12, then went to bed. Went to like an actual bed. I was like on a couch.
Okay.
On a chair.
Woke up around midnight?
Yeah.
What bed did you go to?
I went into his brother's room, and then...
Was Joe there?
Joe, no, he was not there.
Where's he?
He was at a friend's house.
Okay. So you went in Joe's room?
Yeah, and then the parents had friends over, and they weren't going to sleep there. Then they did.
The friends? The Fingles did?
Yeah, they're friends. So they came in Joe's room to sleep. So I had to get up, went down to the basement, and slept on the futon.
What time was that about? Do you remember?
I don't know what time that was. It was probably like 1:30 maybe.
When you woke up to go to Joe's room, where were all the other boys?
They were sleeping on the couch next to me and up in his room.
Okay. Was Nick there?
Yes.
You sure? That's real important.
No, I don't think he was.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, no.
He wasn't there.
He went out, I think.
The detective can tell Taylor is hesitant about speaking, so he reminds him that he needs to tell the truth.
I don't
Taylor,
know.
I'm going to tell you now.
Yes.
This is a murder case.
Yes.
You're 15 years old.
Yes.
You cannot lie to me.
All right.
Because you will go to jail for the rest of your life.
Saying that he'll go to jail for the rest of his life is rather aggressive, as Taylor is only 15 and it's also not actually true. The detective needs him to be truthful, but he oversteps a little here. Police are allowed to lie to suspects, but this seemed unnecessary at this point, given Taylor.
It's legal for police to lie when interrogating criminal suspects? Sin, why? Why is it why? Huh?
Taylor's age.
I never knew that.
Nick was not in there?
No.
Do you know that he left?
What?
Do you know that he left?
I guess they'll be able to. I guess they can lie because, like, if they want to, like in this case, they want to get something out of the person, and they know the only way they can is if they lie to them and like tell them something like, "You will go to jail for the rest of your life. You're 15, so tell me the truth, motherfucker." So then they tell the truth. So I feel like that's probably why, which is like fucked up. But I mean, shit, hey, if it's for the right cause, it's for the right cause. Not gonna lie.
Left?
I mean, yeah, I guess because I didn't see him there. I didn't know he was leaving.
Okay.
To tell the truth, I really don't know the exact times.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I didn't have like a clock I was looking at.
I'm with you.
Taylor is displaying some behaviors that indicate he's feeling anxious, such as holding his hands in front of his torso and frequently touching his face. However, given his young age and the fact that his friend's family was just found murdered, it would be understandable that he's feeling anxious.
Yeah.
Although some dismiss body language analysis as pseudoscience, it's used by the FBI and CIA during interrogations. When the CIA is interrogating an individual, they look for clusters of 3 or more indicators that occur in either quick succession or all at once. These indicators can be signs of discomfort or uncertainty in what the individual is stating, rather than indicators of deception. It's extremely important to note that you cannot detect deception through body language analysis alone. We pick up where the detective is explaining to Alex the utter magnitude of the horrific crimes.
If you haven't figured out by now, something really serious has happened to the Browning family. You're 15 years old. I need you to be 100% honest. The other boys have been honest with me. You can't take up and lie. Okay?
Yes.
By telling him that the other boys have been honest with me, the detective is trying to ensure that Alex is telling the truth. If he thinks that the other boys told the detective everything, he'll feel pressured to do the same. If he denies something, but the other boys say it happened, he might be afraid he'll get in trouble with the police.
I'll ask you to take me through the last 28, 29 hours, what's been going on. So you guys, from what I know, Paul spent the night over at Finn's, right?
Yes.
What did you guys do from there?
Alex begins to give his account of the previous night, which seems to be consistent with Taylor's account.
Well, we slept there, then in the morning,
You're skipping over a lot, okay?
What?
I want you to take it slow and not skip out stuff, okay?
Alright.
So last night you guys went there.
Yeah.
What did you guys do while you were there?
We ordered food from Georgia's and watched Smoking Aces and Accepted and ran around outside a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we basically just all went to sleep
Okay. What were you guys watching TV and stuff? What room of the house?
in the living room.
Were Ryan's parents home?
Yes.
Was there other people there too?
Yes.
Ryan's parents?
Friends.
Gotcha. Who else is in the living room with you?
Nick.
Who else? Did Ryan go up to his room?
Yeah, Ryan went up to his room and Taylor went up to Ryan's brother's room and then moved downstairs.
Okay. Why did Taylor have to go downstairs?
Because Ryan's parents' friends were sleeping in his room.
Okay.
Back in Taylor's interrogation room, it seems he's wrestling with himself. It's as if he has something he wants to get off his chest. The detective is expressing just how crucial it is that he disclose the full story of what happened through the previous night and into the morning, where everything took a terrible turn for the worst.
Are you sure you've been 100% honest? Is there something you should be telling me? Because I'm not telling you how important this is right now. Is there something you think?
Actually,
There's something.
he told me that he was going to go out, but he didn't tell me where he really was going.
Okay.
He said,
Taylor, I appreciate this. I mean, this is.
he said he was going to go out. I mean, I don't know. I was kind of, he said he was going to go out, and then.
What do you tell you about that?
As he talks, Taylor picks up the water bottle. Picking up the water bottle suddenly has to have some meaning because this happened precisely when he was telling the detective about Nick having gone out. Ryan does the same thing when he seemed uncomfortable. Based on behavioral observations, Taylor and Ryan appear to know something or have strong suspicions that Nick was up to no good when he left the house.
He was going out to do what?
I don't know.
He told you something. Well,
I don't know. He said he was going to go and.
Taylor is looking down and avoiding eye contact. showing that he's clearly nervous, revealing what Nick told him he was going to do.
He said he was gonna, like, since he got like his,
Oh, he did it! I'm about to say he did
Notice
it.
that the detective leans in very close to him when he starts stuttering and hesitating. The detective is mirroring the boy's body language, which is a nonverbal rapport building technique used to make them feel more comfortable and friendly with the detective.
Make him feel more comfortable. Fuck no, I ain't being more comfortable. Look at this. If I'm in this bitch stuttering, I know my friend just killed somebody. A mass killing. And I'm in here trying to get my story straight. Bro, somebody getting in my face? You think I'm going to be more comfortable now? No. No. If anything, I'm going to be more comfortable if you stay away from me. That's even be more comfortable. If you're in my face, you think I'm going to just be bright on just... No. I don't know where you got that from, but hey.
Typically, mirroring behavior is something you can observe between people who are close and comfortable with each other. Although we can't know for sure, and he can be displaying this behavior subconsciously, as the majority of people do, the detective seems to be using this technique quite intentionally throughout the interrogations in an attempt to make the group feel more at ease, friendly, and willing to share any information they may have. Point out any mirroring behavior you catch throughout the interrogations with timestamps in the comments.
he said he might go and take the car, but he ended up
Take his parents' car.
it was his car.
Taylor continues speaking, but becomes more obviously uncomfortable. He stutters slightly and starts to cover his face with his hands while speaking. He fidgets and frequently touches his face, which is a self-soothing behavior. He's likely feeling very anxious, possibly still feeling torn about whether to be loyal to his friend or be honest with the detective. Again, this is another pretty strong indication that Taylor may not be telling the whole truth. The question is, why would he risk himself just to try and protect Nick, given that the crime here is something so serious?
He just told me he's going. He's gonna might take the car. He went
Did he
there.
say where we was going to go with the car?
No, he did not. He said he's going to, and next thing I knew it. I mean, woke up, and he said fell asleep or whatever.
Okay.
So he said fell asleep in his car, and he came. Then he walked back, I guess, or biked. I don't know which one he did.
Okay.
And that's.
Okay. I'm going to let you think for a little bit, and I'm going to come back in and talk to you, okay?
Alright.
You need anything?
No.
Once alone, Taylor looks rather uneasy and is likely rattled by this situation. We now hear firsthand what Nick claims to have occurred the previous night.
And then at around 1:30, stupid me, I went back to my house to try to get the car.
Nick says stupid me to make it clear that he knew it was a bad idea and to appear to the officer like he's a good kid.
Okay. And the keys were, where my parents were, the lights were on in the house.
Notice how Nick taps the table while talking in an attempt to emphasize his points. However, these taps appear mistimed rather than aligned with his statements.
And the keys were, where my parents were, the lights were on in the house.
Typically, these sort of illustrators will line up with a person's statements when they're being truthful. But Nick's are all off, and at times he isn't even hitting the table. This is also known as incongruent body language, or when someone's words and body language don't match. According to the body language panel, these are known as misplaced or mistimed illustrators and can be a cue of deception.
And so I didn't want to take the car out, because the lights were on, so worried. And so I went in the car and started yelling, and they'll go to bed in a half hour and the lights will be off. So I was sitting there, and I fall asleep. Then I get a call from Alex around, I think, 5 in the morning.
Okay.
And then it wakes me up, and then I slept in the car, and the lights are still on in the house.
Okay.
And it doesn't make sense now, but,
Okay. So what did you do then?
I walked back home.
Okay.
Just like, it's 5 in the morning.
Okay. So did you ever get inside to get the keys at all, or?
No, I went in that car, but never inside the house.
Okay.
His casual demeanor is somewhat unusual given he's just found his entire family murdered. However, it's possible that he's currently experiencing feelings of denial and hasn't fully let the truth sink in, which could somewhat explain why he appears to be acting normally. Nick speaks in a much more mature manner compared to his 3 friends who definitely sound more like kids.
Did you walk back to Ryan's house?
That, and I got there.
How far is it, man?
It's a hike. It's probably like a 20-minute walk. So.
Okay.
Alex now gives his account of the sleeping situation at Ryan's house, which is a bit different than what the other boys had to say. Watch his story begin to evolve as he fills in some of the missing pieces of the puzzle.
So you and Nick slept in the living room?
Yes.
You're 100% sure? You need to be perfectly honest with me. That Nick was in there with you?
Yes.
The whole night?
Yes.
Alex denies that Nick left the house that night. The detective already knows this is untrue. Alex may feel like he has to protect his friend by saying that Nick was sleeping in the living room the whole night. At that age, one's peer relationships may be the most important thing. Friends' opinions and thoughts are often held in higher esteem than that of one's own family.
Okay, I'm having 2 people tell me he left the house. This is a murder investigation. 4 people have been murdered tonight. You don't want to start lying to me right now. I will drag you down with this if you start lying with me. You need to tell me 100% truth. I already know he's left the house. I already know why he left the house.
Yes, he left.
He immediately changes his story and appears to now tell the truth. The boys may have decided together to lie about Nick leaving the house prior to being brought into the station to protect their friend. Saying that he left the house would obviously make him look guilty.
Tell me what happened.
Well, Nick was leaving the house because he was going to take his car out.
So when did he tell you that he was going to go over there?
He said he was going to leave at 12:45.
What were you guys going to do? Drive around?
Yeah, just drive around.
Do you have anybody to go visit girls or anything like that?
No, they were just going to drive around.
Ain't got no hoes. Ain't got no girls.
Okay. What happened after that?
Well, I fell asleep around 1.
Okay.
And then,
You stayed in that living room?
yes, and then I woke up around 5, and I called Nick to see where he was, because he said he was going to come back and wake me up when he had the car, but
Okay.
he never called, so I called him. He said he was walking back to Ryan's, and he was lost, and I told him how to get him. And he said he was going to go in the house and get the keys, and he fell asleep in the car. I understand. He said for about 3 hours, I guess.
It's hard to tell if any of these boys suspected something, or maybe even knew more. Alex's behavior here is similar to Taylor's, except that he seems to lie more overtly about the living room situation. Back in Ryan's interrogation room, the detective receives the same story provided by Taylor and Alex.
Tell what happened. What you
Alright,
guys
we went upstairs. We ate breakfast or lunch.
Lunch.
Lunch. And then, let's see, Nick went upstairs to take a shower.
And then what happened?
When Mr. Pat came, Alex drove us back to Nick's house because we were going to go there for the night. And he went inside. I don't know, like, when we were waiting, he was worried because
Sure.
he said, he was calling him, like, all morning. So he started calling him at, like, 11. And, he was, like, worried. He kept on calling, like, all the phones, leaving messages. And no one picked up. He was, like, getting worried. And,
Taylor reaches down as he's speaking and grabs his water bottle, which is a sign of his nervousness. He also repeats a few times about how Nick was getting worried. He seems to want to emphasize Nick's concern about his parents.
because he said that his mom was going to pick him up at, like, 9 to, like, clean the house. 9 in the morning. And she never did, I guess. And he was calling. And, I don't know, I guess he just assumed they're out somewhere.
And then we got home. And in the course of this, I've been calling my parents all day, and they hadn't picked up, so.
From the cell phone?
So, originally from Ryan's house phone, and then my phone a bunch of times.
Okay.
There is a very specific reason why the officer asks about Nick placing calls to his parents and brothers, to compare his statements regarding his calls with phone records. If the police get these records and they're inconsistent with his story, they can do 2 things. 1, convince a jury that he's not telling the truth, and 2, convince Nick to confess because his story doesn't make sense.
Any idea what happened?
The detective wants Ryan to explain exactly what occurred earlier that afternoon, leading up to the horrendous discovery of Nick's slain family.
Me, Taylor, Nick, and Alex were at the mall. We came home. Mr. Pat drove us to Nick's house because we were going to be there tonight because they were all at my house last night.
Okay.
And when we got there, Nick was already worried because Nick's parents always like call him and stuff and check in, and they haven't since. He hasn't talked to him since like 6 yesterday.
Okay.
And he's getting all worried. So like when we got back there, he was just all sketched out about stuff.
He's holding his hands in front of his body as he describes what happened, which could be a self-soothing position. This is likely the first time he's been in a police interview room, so it's understandable that he may be feeling anxious. They begin to discuss the four boys' arrival at Nick's house earlier that afternoon, after their trip to the local mall.
So you guys get to back home. What happened then?
Then I opened the garage door. I walk
How
inside.
did you open the garage door? How do you do that?
That's a code.
Is there? Oh, okay. For the outdoor code, right?
To keep it.
Garage door opens or something. Okay.
And so I walked inside, and then the door was unlocked, which was weird because one of my parents locked the door.
Which door? The door in the
Door into the garage.
kitchen.
Into the kitchen.
Okay, from the garage to the kitchen.
That was locked, so I figured it would be locked, but it wasn't. So I walked in,
Okay.
and I saw my father on the couch, and that's sort of okay.
What did you see about that? I know it's tough, but what did you see?
I saw he was on the couch, and there was blood coming down his face.
It's notable that Nick doesn't seem the least bit upset or emotional while discussing finding his entire family murdered, or when he saw blood on his father's face. This would have been an extremely traumatic event for him, so it's surprising that he doesn't appear to show any signs of trauma. He hasn't cried, expressed shock, or even been at a loss for words. He does lower his voice and mumble a little, but this change in volume and speech may be out of fear and not wanting to discuss the crime. It's possible that he's keeping his emotions inside or putting on a brave face. We don't know his typical behavior, so keeping his emotions inside may be normal for him.
Okay, what did you do after that?
Then we talked to Mr. Smith, and he came in the house, and
Okay.
he called 911, and I went upstairs, looked for the rest of my mother and my two brothers. I saw them.
Okay.
We don't know Nick's diagnosis, but this lack of emotion, despite talking about his entire family being dead, is typical of individuals with antisocial personality disorder. Please note that the people involved in this case have not been formally diagnosed with any mental illness, and the psychological analysis is not based upon a formal assessment.
We discovered his dad on the couch, like bloody. His face was really pale. And then we got Mr. Pat, who was about to drive away. He came in and then he pushed us away from like the dad. So Nick went upstairs, found his mom in the master bedroom, and his two brothers in their bedroom, like all bloody. And I was up there too with him. And Alex was down the hall, and I just took Nick and just brought him outside.
Okay.
Alex gives his take on the disturbing discovery of Nick's deceased father.
I just stayed right by the stairs when you walk in. I didn't want to see anything.
Okay.
And Nick just said he saw blood. And then right as my dad was pulling off, I stopped and.
Did you see his dad or anything?
Yeah, I saw him on the couch. So I ran outside and got Mr. Smith.
Okay.
And he came in, he's like yelling. He's like, John, you okay? And so I gave Mr. Pat the home phone, and he called 911. And Nick went upstairs and looked in his brother's and mom's room, and they had like blood on them.
You said Nick ran upstairs? Is that what you said?
Nick went upstairs.
Nick went upstairs?
Yeah, he wanted to see where everyone else was. So then we all went outside when Mr. Pat was on the phone.
When you went outside, where'd you go?
We stood behind Mr. Pat's truck.
Did you guys go to the back of the house at all?
Yes. We all ran around back.
What did you see back there?
We were gonna see if there's any signs down there. So he opened the door and he saw the Xbox and his.
Who's he? I'm sorry.
Nick.
Okay.
He saw the Xbox and the Wii like on top of each other on the pool table.
The Xbox being left behind makes a robbery much less likely, as that's something a burglar would likely take, especially if it was sitting out so visibly. Burglars also rarely kill their victims and will more often than not leave if they discover the house is occupied. Alex clears up details about Nick's outing in the very early morning hours that day. His account is about to further incriminate his friend Nick.
As far as you know, did he tell you he had driven around at all last night?
Nah, he said he didn't at all.
Okay.
But then today at the mall, he said he couldn't get the keys, and he pulls the car keys out of his jacket, and he said he said they were just in there. He didn't even know.
In his pocket?
Yeah, in his jacket pocket.
Okay.
Nick had alleged that he never got the keys or entered the house, which is now contradicted by Alex.
Is there anybody else in your family?
No, that's it.
Okay. How about grandfather or grandmother? Your grandfather lives
in Deep Creek.
Does he live there, or is he just there for the
He
weekend?
lives there full time, and my grandmother lives in Ellicott City.
How old is he? Your granddad?
73.
Because I want him to come. If I asked him to come here for you, would you do that? Would he?
Oh, they come down. It just take about 3 hours.
I understand. But when you come down.
Nick is laughing with the detective and seems almost lighthearted. Most people would certainly lack the ability to laugh so easily. However, people can process trauma differently, and it's impossible to know how Nick is truly feeling inside, as many individuals are very good at hiding their emotions.
All right, let me work on that real quick.
Okay.
And I'll come back and talk to him a little bit. Okay? You need anything else?
Before leaving the room, the officer asks Nick if he needs anything. This may not seem particularly important, but the officer is trying to build rapport with him. By getting him to believe that the officer is on his side, he will be more open when talking to him.
Some food would be nice.
Food is it? Check our restaurant here. It's all we eat junk food here. Is that okay?
It's fine.
How about some drink?
Soda would be great.
His request for food is surprising, as most people would lack an appetite after seeing what he witnessed hours before. Given the situation, this...
Yeah, bro tripping, I ain't gonna lie. You just seen your family get killed, bro. You talking about you want a full course meal with soda and shit, bro, want some candy. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's gonna be part 1. We'll come back with part 2. Love y'all.